Electrocast.
Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
Hold on to your butts.
We are changing the course of history as we see it. That is what Wesley demands.
Now this affects Iris. Iris, where are you?
What you feel only matters to you. I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Iris, I have a tip for you.
Don't take drugs!
Or whatever movies with Wesley and Iris.
Boom, 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 boom. Students of Rydell High, this is Iris, your co-host here at Or Whatever Movies, here with my older brother,
Wesley.
Today, we're talking a movie from 1978, really? It's the word Grease.
So Grease is 45 years old this year, which is the same age that Stockard Channing was when she played Rizzo in the movie.
No way, and yet still 2 years younger than you.
She's like 48, dude.
Is she really?
When she played Rizzo, she was like 52.
It's like you playing a high schooler.
This must have been what started it, because everyone in 90210, Luke Perry was like in his 30s.
Oh, definitely.
They had to have been like, well, Grease did it.
What was the chick who had the curly hair?
Gabrielle Carteris was definitely in her 30s.
Yeah. She was like 35, which at the time I was like, whoa, that's ancient.
Right.
So that's our discussion on Grease from 1978.
Why are we discussing Grease?
We are discussing Grease because Paloma, at her musical theater summer camp, performed We Go Together with a handful of other kids. And so for research, she wanted to watch Grease, which I was like, great.
Oh, no.
What a classic from my childhood, wholesome 50s movie. Let's watch it. So we popped it on, and I was horrified. And Brian stepped in and was riding the remote the entire time.
Wait, right? Like what, mute?
No, just he would skip ahead 30 seconds, 60 seconds. He would skip whole scenes.
Oh, man. Did you run this by Dada?
And I know similarly, he was all excited. Like, yeah, let's do family movie night. Like, I don't know what it is about Grease that made me think it was wholesome. And then to top it off, she decides that Grease Lightning is her favorite song.
Oh, goodness.
And so, as per usual, she asked if I could print out the lyrics for her.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
Man, the Grease is performed all over the country and probably all over the world, certainly in Australia, where Dame Olivia Newton-John hailed from. But they do have a high school script, a version that's accepted and toned down, where the chicks will scream for Grease Lightning. It's a real dragon wagon.
Yeah, I think the official, the Kids Bop version is We'll All Scream, as in for ice cream, but Grease Lightning instead. Anyway, that was the first time, I cannot believe it, in 40 however some odd years that I realized just how incredibly raunchy that song was. But another thing about it was, skipping all the scenes and stuff and fast forwarding through parts was really frustrating for me because I was enjoying sitting down watching it. And so I thought I should do a critical viewing and we should discuss it on Or Whatever Movies.
Isn't it okay, though? Don't you know it by heart, almost?
What? The lyrics to Grease Lightning?
Well, not that in particular, but I feel like Grease is, for me, definitely, Grease is one of those movies that I knew the words by heart, the cadence and the inflection before I knew what they were saying, really. I think you're okay, because there's a sweet spot that Paloma's in. It's not the sweet spot for understanding. It's the too young, so it all goes completely over your head and you don't discover it until you're a middle-aged mom. And the best indication that it's totally going to be okay is I fell for this movie. Like, I loved this movie before I taught myself to be contemptuous of musicals.
Yeah, I was wondering how this might factor into your assessment of musicals. So you were so young you didn't even realize it was a musical?
Right? It's just fun. And which I really think ultimately, I'm fast forwarding to my ultimate review or rating of Grease, but it's just a fun musical that everyone's like, oh, it lacks diversity and oh, it's not underrepresented. And Didi Cohen, who played Frenchie, is just like, it's just a fun musical thing. And then at the same, which I happen to agree with. And then at the same time, even the producers and the director are like, yeah, we tried to put as much sex in there as humanly possible because that's what makes it fun for us. And so it wasn't accidental. I guess it was truthful. And a lot of the reason that this movie resonates with people is because of the true nature of the high school relationships and Rizzo's false alarm pregnancy and stuff. And Danny turning on her and being a jock, and then he didn't become a jock till later, and betrayal and all the cha-cha stuff, and I think it smacks of real relationships for any decade, I guess.
I was thinking about it. They didn't go for like the cheap juvenile humor that we use in today's content. Like there wasn't a single like burp or fart joke. But it also feels like a 70s, 80s depiction of childhood that might be more realistic, but that we don't do anymore. Like in Goonies or like in Troop Beverly Hills or something. That's a terrible example, but I would say it's realistic, but also why don't we have like mature coming of age comedies anymore?
Just because it's not marketable. The same reason we don't have sex scenes, which alienate younger PG-13 viewers. And so for this one, it prevents, Grease. I don't know what rating this would get today. I mean, I guess it seems relatively tame. Like Olivia Newton-John was deathly afraid when Let's Get Physical, when Physical, her like biggest hit song, was released, because she was obviously talking about boning. And then she was like, we have to do a video and we have to make it about exercise or something. We got to fix this. And as she says now, by now that song is like a lullaby compared to what's on the radio. So I'm not sure if you made Grease frame by frame a remake, if it would even warrant a PG-13. I mean, I guess.
I mean, there's overt sex talk. There is gyrating and illegal street races, tobacco use. I mean, I think this is a pretty fair PG-13 if the rating existed.
They warned John Travolta, if you do that thing again, that rubbing the plastic wrap on your junk, this movie will get an R rating. And he did it again, and it made it into the movie, and they still didn't get their R.
Yeah, he does the plastic wrap kind of like drying off shimmy over his nuts, and then he tickles them later when he talks about getting off his rocks.
That was just a Michael Jackson move. Michael Jackson's for families.
I mean, I don't know about like in his bad phase, but
right,
yeah.
But you didn't even remember it. You blocked it out and you're like, it's wholesome. And Paloma can absolutely watch this without screening it, without vetting it. Her dad felt the same way. We watched it because our dad didn't care one way or another. But I'm telling you, none of this stuck. None of the sexy stuff, none of the inappropriate, I guess you would call it, stuff. Maybe it messed us up and we don't know it, but I don't think so.
Well, I'm sure there were plenty of things that we watched that contributed to messing us up. But I have a quick correction to make. So I talk about Paloma, who's 7, who was doing musical theater. And yes, she was initiating the quote-unquote research that we were doing by having a family viewing of Grease. But also, mind you, her 4-year-old sister, Aurelia, loved it so much that now whenever we drive to school, Grease Lightning is the song that she requests.
Oh, my goodness.
When I DJ on the way to school. Paloma's so much ahead of her, being 3 years older. Like everything is new for Paloma, so I always think about it being Paloma's first experience or Paloma's experience, but it's both of their experiences.
See, you were fortunate because I had aged into some of the things that mom and dad were judging whether or not they were appropriate, and you got them 4 years younger.
I guess so. I don't know if that's a good thing.
I was watching Eddie Murphy Raw when I was 11, 12 years old, and you got it at like 7.
Yep.
But I'm telling you, man, you didn't know any of the stuff. I watched this movie and it's so musical. I mean, literally, but also just the language. I knew what they were saying, but not really. Patty Simcox, the bad seed of Rydell, hi, and I heard all that stuff in my head before it was coming, but I didn't understand. So here's a concession I will make. I knew by the age that I became familiar with Grease. I don't remember when that was. I don't remember not knowing this movie, but I knew what jugs were and I knew the context context of jugs as being discussed by the dudes on the bleachers, particularly between Danny and Kenickie. But then Duty says, were her jugs bigger than Annette's? And I didn't know who Annette was. And so I heard her neck. And Kenickie's response is, nobody's jugs are bigger than their neck. And I was like, that's such a weird thing to say. Did like girls in the 50s have big necks or something? Because I've definitely seen bigger jugs than necks.
Wow, you were trying to use like 10-year-old. You were going to logic your way out of that one,
right? And Rizzo was like, you hauled your cookies all the way to the beach for some guy? And I was like, oh, we saw the beach. They never ate cookies. That's weird.
Oh, wait, what's a cookie?
I don't know. I think it's just the goods or something.
Yeah.
Likewise, I never understood. Did you understand? Even today, I still don't understand when that girl comes up behind Sandy in her uniform and pulls up her dress. Frenchie does that weird witchcraft hand hex to her. And then Sandy's like, thanks, French. And I was like, what did she do? I still don't know what she does. What is that thing?
Wait, when is this? This is at the bonfire?
Right after the bonfire, the girl comes up, pulls up Sandy's dress, and she's like, what are you doing? And then Frenchie does that weird little wavy Stevie Nicks hand hex thing.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't know. I don't even remember that.
And for the first time, just watching this movie, I know, like Saturday Night Fever, this has a lot of parallels. As a matter of fact, there's some variance in the truth of the history, but supposedly he was cast in Greece before Saturday Night Fever, and John Travolta, upon completing principal photography for Saturday Night Fever, went right into Greece. And the similarities are there. John Travolta in the 70s, I guess, had a thing with sexually assaulting girls in the car.
Oh, Sandy.
Yeah.
Wait, he assaults her in the car?
Yeah.
In Saturday Night Fever?
Yeah, he's like, you want it or whatever. And she's like, get off me. And like, or maybe that's Sandy. But both times they escape by hitting him in the nuts.
Yeah, I don't remember when I picked that up, but it was much, much later that she is actually slamming the door on his boner.
Yep. Well,
and then he falls backward in pain.
Technically, we didn't see a boner, so okay. Yeah, you're going to let Paloma listen to this discussion?
I mean, eventually she'll listen to it, I imagine.
Yeah, where are you going? To flog your log? And then he says, well, it's better than hanging out with you dorks. And there's a decided ooh and grumbling in the background. Like, do you think they use dorks in the traditional sense?
Well, in this context, it would really make sense. You're talking about when he declines the ride in Kenickie's car.
Yeah.
And then I never had heard this dialogue before, but Rizzo says, what do you guys think? This is a gangbang?
You wish.
What?
Yeah, man.
Wow. Hit the pavement. No!
See, you know it all. And then when you hear the actual words, it's shocking. Because that in itself isn't necessarily shocking. Just the fact that it flew over our heads for decades.
Oh, yeah. I guess I figured they were up to no good, but I didn't realize just how overtly it was that they were just going to go find some place to do it. Did they go to the movie theater? Is that the next scene where he breaks the condom? Which I also did not get.
It's like at the whole place is no parking zone. They're like up on the point where teenagers go to make out.
Oh, right.
We're not all getting all of this stuff now in our old age. We gradually understood these things, but still as a whole, viewing it critically, which I certainly have never done for Grease, some of these things come to light. When did you figure out the brilliance of Rizzo's joke, I feel like a defective typewriter?
She's saying that to reveal that she's PG.
Yeah.
What does the typewriter thing mean?
A defective typewriter. I skipped a period.
Oh.
And I'm telling you, dude, until I was
yuck,
like
yuck,
30,
yuck.
I was like, there's a defective typewriter and she skipped a period. I immediately equated that with her missing a period of school, like she missed typing class. And I understood when she says it was a false alarm. I'm not pregnant, but I didn't get that joke. It didn't make sense.
Well, I never got that joke, but it's just so amazing how you, as a kid, can logic your way out of these things.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you're okay as far as Paloma's retention and comprehension goes.
Like, there's no way that these things are sinking in?
Well, no, I mean, she might recite it. Like when Dad let me wear his Where's the Beef shirt, and it was the old Wendy's lady looking under the covers with the old dude she was in bed next to. Dad let me wear that shirt to elementary school, and Mr. Barnes was horrified. And he was very disappointed in me and presumably in Dad, but I didn't know. I was like, it's funny. It's Where's the Beef, like Wendy's. So she may recite some of this at school, especially since you're playing the unedited version of Greased Lightning, but we'll see.
So that's exactly what I was worried about. When she asked for the lyrics, I told her I was going to give her a kid-appropriate version.
Oh, that just makes her seek out the truth.
I know. And she asked why, and I told her because I didn't want her to be singing it at school, that it wouldn't be appropriate. But now she's definitely like snooping around. Like so when I gave them to her, I left the lyrics printed out on the island thing in the kitchen.
Yep.
And then afterwards she came to me and she was like, "Was that the kid version?" And I was like, "Yes." So now she knows.
Can she do Google searches already?
No.
Okay, good.
I mean, I guess what's the harm? I mean, like you said, a lot of this is going to go over her head, and I watched it when I was -2.
Easily 7, for sure.
Well, like you, there isn't a time where I don't remember this not being in our rotation.
However, for the first time as an adult, because I think it was primarily our rip from TV VHS edit that we saw, on endless loop. But I'm telling you, today is the first day I ever heard Rizzo's song in my entire life.
Wow, really?
There are worse things I could do. I was like, what is this? I've never heard that song before.
That is wild. Yep, that was always the song that was edited for TV, not because of content, but because of time, which I knew existed, but it always struck me that they cut that song as opposed to Beauty School Dropout. But I guess Beauty School Dropout has way more production value.
Yeah, Frankie Avalon told Frenchie Didi Cohen later that of all the hits he had, because he was already established, apparently Elvis turned down that role as her guardian angel. That's his biggest hit, his most requested song.
Beauty School Dropout?
Yeah, and did you know that Hopelessly Devoted to You was filmed way after the fact? Like after production had wrapped, they were like, it was in her contract that Olivia Newton-John got to sing a solo song, and they needed it, so they went back to the backyard of some house and filmed that song, which is the film's only Oscar nomination.
Wow.
Yeah. And Stockard Channing had to fight for There Are Worse Things I Could Do, and I've still never seen it.
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrente a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre a la para llevarte ofertas antes del cut-off. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
Switch to Verizon Business and get more from your internet without paying more for your internet. Get LTE Business Internet starting at $39 a month when paired with select business mobile plans. That's unlimited data, and with it, unlimited possibilities. Start saving today with Verizon Business, ranked #1 in small business internet customer satisfaction by J.D. Power. Starting price for 25 megabits per second LTE internet plan with smartphone plan savings, plus taxes, fees, and economic adjustment charge. Terms apply. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
I mean, when was the last time you saw this? Have you not seen this as an adult?
I ended up watching a lot of it closely, critically, but this is a movie where I can picture everything that's happening. To listen to it is to watch it. This movie feels completely out of time because we didn't exist in the 50s. We barely existed. You didn't technically exist when this movie was released. This feels like a completely different era where it could be cartoony and it could be heightened and we would never know.
I do think that Doody, Sonny, and Putsy are underrated cast members.
Yeah, they're like the Stooges, man.
Well, they dance and they sing their butts off.
They do. Everyone does, except for Marnie or whatever. Is that her name?
Marty.
Marty.
Maraschino.
Marty Maraschino, as in Cherry, which is also a Sexy Time reference. She couldn't dance, so she never got her moment at the Rydell dance-off.
I did notice that during We Go Together, she's just kind of running around. And then there's one scene at the very end where they're doing there's a group shot where she's kind of struggling to hit her mark.
Yeah, she does a little bit of hand jive, but she's just bouncing in place.
Well, she does the doot 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 at the end of the dance.
Sure.
Where she shakes her hips for Vince Fontaine.
Oh, yeah. That'll do it. That's all she needs. Did it not always bother you on some level? Because I traced this back, and it actually happens in the musical, which of course predates Grease the motion picture. Didn't it bother you that Cha-Cha snags Danny and they win, just to give Sandy and Danny the conflict later on at the drive-in when he elbows her in the boob?
What are you saying? You were mad?
I'm saying it's never sat right with me that Sonny kind of, for some reason, pulls Sandy away. And then she like huffs out the door, and he's like, well, I'm a dancing machine, and I'm dancing to win. It was another kind of Saturday Night Live parallel, but that makes her the sad crying lady in the car. Anyway, it never sat right that he didn't chase her out.
So I hear what you're saying, but the thing that always bothered me was Sonny. Like, I didn't understand Sonny's motivation for pulling Sandy away.
There was some motivation to it, like he was, like Cha-Cha put him up to it or something.
Yes, right. I always attributed it to Cha-Cha. And Sonny's rebuffed by Marty when she arrives. Like, he has some kind of gift for her. He's all excited. And then she's way more interested in Vince Fontaine. So he's all jilted and just up to no good. And yeah, I always attributed it to Cha-Cha, that she masterminded it. But Danny gets around because he's got history with Cha-Cha. Yep. He's got history with Annette. And he's got history with Rizzo.
Yep. Come on, Zuko, baby.
Yeah. Hey, you seen Zook? He's looking right. What did she say? How's he looking?
So he's a player, and Rizzo, I guess, is kind of a player, I guess. But to this day, I still don't know what a virgin pin is. When Marty's like, tells Frenchie, yeah, you can use my virgin pin to pierce Sandy's ears.
Virgin pin?
Yeah, is that something you keep in your hope chest or something?
I think that you're hearing that wrong.
No, dude, it's a virgin pin, and because Rizzo says, oh, it's good, nice that it'll be used for something.
Virgin pin grease. Here it is. You're right. She says virgin pin. That's so weird.
And then all I know is Frenchie puts it in her mouth to clean it and then wipes it on her collar before she sticks Sandy in the ear with it. And then finally, the biggest surprise that shocked me upon viewing it this time, which I had never fully understood before, is the diner scene where Putsy tells Jan, I always knew there was more to you than just fat. And I went, what? And then I looked back and I tracked it. She brought the Twinkies to the sleepover. My mom's apple pie is better than this. And then later on at the drive-in, she hands someone and says, hold my money. Don't let me go to the snack stand. Is Jan supposed to be fat?
Jan's the fat girl?
Man.
Well, you know, in the 50s, they all measured their thighs and had to maintain specific proportions.
Are you just basing this on the marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
I am. But in the 50s, they had a different definition of fat.
My God. I mean, it's not like her jugs were bigger than her neck.
You know, she's they don't play her as the fat girl so much as they play her as the juvenile.
Yeah, doing the toothbrush song and dance thing.
Yeah. Or at the beginning, she's like, well, don't act juvenile. And she's like, we are adolescent.
And don't be so adolescent. We are adolescent.
That was the big shocker for you?
That was shocking to me. In context, I was like, wait a minute, because I had never caught that before. So I have a question for you.
Yep.
Kenickie hears that Rizzo's knocked up, which is a great scene because Marty spills the secret right away. And then you can see the news travel through the cars faster than Rizzo's walking.
Yep.
Kenickie hears it, steps right over to her and says, Rizzo, I hear you're knocked up. Good news travels fast, right? And he tells her, I don't run away from my mistakes. She tells him, don't worry about it. It was somebody else's mistake. And he says, thanks a lot, kid. And then he pieces out.
Yeah.
She says, anytime, and she looks after him kind of wistfully because I'm pretty sure it was his mistake, right?
Yep.
So is Kenickie happy to be off the hook? Or is it sarcastic and he's hurt because she boned someone else?
He's hurt because it all tracks, right? I don't know why she's all mad at him, but he's waiting there, like expectantly to talk to her. And then she tells Marty, come on. And she avoids him. You know, he's all... I guess he's not all mopey at the dance because he's all over Cha-Cha. But he makes an honest woman of her at the end.
Yeah.
Right? Which I never really understood, but it was a bona fide offer. And he was basically saying the same thing at the movie theater. Like, I don't run away from my mistakes. Like, I'm going to do something about this. But she's too tough and she can't let him see her cry.
Yeah, I guess so. Doesn't matter, though, because I'm sure they'll all stay together for life.
Like Ramalama Dinga-de-dinga-dong?
So you can't even do it. I don't think, it's always embarrassing for me to watch that scene because I don't think they all know what the doo-wop words are. They're just I bet you. Play the song for the girls, and they'll be like, hamanama jibba dabba dabba da boo da boo.
Well, not the cast. They know what they're singing, at least.
Really? Do you think that they phonetically sounded out all the ramalamas?
I mean, they're in chorus. They have to.
Okay. So, have you heard this theory about the end of Grease? That when the car that no one has ever seen before, by the way, the red roadster with the clear hood, suddenly takes off and flies into the clouds, that's Sandy's final ascension to heaven. That when I saved her life, she nearly drowned, and he was splashing around, and that Sandy, at least, and possibly Danny, died on the beach. And this was their fantasy where she came to his high school and they lived out their romance until ultimately she could ascend to heaven.
That's so dumb. Okay, so Kenickie shows up with the hunk of junk at the pep rally.
What a hunk of junk. But then Danny is also saying within 30 seconds, if we fix this car up, it could be a real chick magnet or whatever.
Exactly. And so they do greased lightning. So then he and Sandy show up at the diner. When Danny sees all of his friends there, he decides they can't be, he says, we can't be alone here, let's go somewhere else. And then she gives him the look. He shows up in a red car, which I always thought was greased lightning, on its way to being souped up. But I think it's the dream car in the making, because then they show up at Thunder Road and greased lightning has the lightning bolt down the side. And then it gets tore up because Scarface, is that his name?
Craterface, which is actually that poor dude's real nickname.
Oh.
He was an established actor, but he was known as Craterface, so they just used it.
Oof.
It's not his name. It's like Lou or something is his character name.
If Craterface spent more time driving and less time trying to mess with Grease Lightning, he would have won. But anyway, so Grease Lightning gets all tore up, and then at the end, Danny shows up in the Grease Lightning car. So the only thing I left out was in the Grease Lightning musical performance, Kenickie's car turns into the dream car, and at the end, the dream car is revealed in all of its glory, and they fly off into heaven in it. So anyway, what I'm saying is, was that always Danny's car, and is it the souped up version of the car that Danny shows up to the diner in?
I'm not sure. I don't even remember the diner car. I do know that there were a couple of subplots dropped here and there, so maybe there's a full-on thing where Danny also has a car, because he definitely doesn't have a car when Kenickie first pulls up in his car.
Right.
Zuko got the car, remember?
Yeah. Right, exactly. And that's why I always figured that he had borrowed Kenickie's car to go to the diner with Sandy, but then Kenickie and Rizzo are there, so that doesn't make sense.
And also, this disproves your theory about this movie not having any burp or fart jokes, because Kenickie totally comes in with a burp.
At the diner?
Yeah, he pulls the menus apart and burps at them.
Oh.
He's like, how you doing, Zook?
Right. That's right, before he gets milkshaked.
Yep. That scene also, the reason she's so mad at him is because they had a big fight. Like a fight that they were like, this is something that Martin Scorsese would direct. This doesn't match the tone of the movie at all. So Rizzo's really pissed at him when they show up.
Why does she apologize to Frenchie at the end?
See, I remember that too in my head. Sorry, French. And she's like warbling a little bit because she's so upset. Because she splashed and you can see she's got it all over her. And then Vi or whatever is like, don't no use crying over spilled milkshake. She definitely gets splashed, which makes her take off her bonnet thing. Where she's like, I hate to tell you this, but your hair looks like an Easter egg.
You even had the inflection and everything.
Yeah, man. My favorite part, too, that I actually knew was coming, that I looked for this time, was when she's like, I dropped out of beauty school. What do you think of waitressing? And Vi is like, you're too young to know. And she walks down the steps, and she reaches out with her elbow when she's holding a tray to turn off the light switch and does a little grunt. She doesn't come within 6 inches of that light switch, and the diner goes dark.
Really?
Yeah. It's pretty funny. Wait, Danny's in the red car at the drive-in with Sandy, with the Sin Wagon.
Oh, right.
Huh. I don't know where he got that car. We dropped that subplot somewhere.
I mean, a car's a big deal, not only in the 50s, but to these dudes.
We didn't talk about this movie at all.
Yeah, we did. I mean, kind of. We can just riff about it.
We didn't go on about the sad history of Jeff Conway, and then we didn't talk about Olivia Newton-John having to be sewn into the pants.
Oh, they are skin tight.
Olivia Newton-John, I'm aware that she was in other stuff. I'm aware that she was a singer, a very successful one, had one of the biggest hits of the 80s, but she's never been anything other than Sandy. To me, Olivia Newton-John is purely Grease.
You have a big crush on her?
Not necessarily, but more so than anyone else. Maybe Marty.
Is John Travolta a singer?
He is much more a trained dancer, and I think he really stretched for these songs, but I think he did a good job. Like, he's not a bad singer.
He definitely affects some weird thing in Grease Lightning.
Yeah, that's the Elvis part. And the falsetto at the end of Summer Nights is kind of rough, but what are you going to do? He's got Olivia Newton-John to help.
When I think about the end of Summer Nights, I can only think of his sigh, where he says, "Oh."
And hers is sweet, like, oh. See, I'm telling you, we heard this movie more than we saw it, and I know it so well. And then when you actually when you realize those sounds are coherent, offensive words, you're like, what?
What exactly is Kenickie asking Danny when they start hitting each other and then they hug?
Well,
just before Thunder Road.
Jeff Conway says that to him, that moment was a dude bro love, like a romance scene. Like two dudes expressing love and like companionship or partnership or whatever. He's like, hey, I love you and I want you to be my partner and thing. This is the biggest thing for me and I want you by my side. And that they're incapable of letting that kind of thing slide, especially in front of other people. So they do the pull out their combs thing. But he couldn't even elaborate on what it is he wanted from him.
Exactly, because he says, will you be my second?
Yeah.
And then he says, what? You mean like, and then he's like, yeah. And that's all. And I'm like what? And then they start hugging each other.
Yeah.
And then they have to be cool.
Yep.
And the moments pass. But I never really understood what Kenickie was asking him.
Bromances are complicated. They're especially more complicated 70 years ago.
All right. When you're a greaser.
Which is the setting for can you imagine the 50s or this era, like 70 years ago? All those dudes are dead. Everyone at Rydell from the 50s is dead. My favorite piece of trivia to close. You ready?
Go.
They were out there in like the LA River. They were driving around and there was like junk on the ground and glass and metal and junk and it was all dangerous. And they splashed through the water and he comes to a screeching halt after winning the pink slip in the water and like everyone's splashed and covered in water. It's like real LA grimy river water and a bunch of them got sick.
Ugh. Because they're all splashing through it to celebrate?
Right. It's like the least sanitary place ever.
Yeah, they're literally like traipsing through the sewer.
Right.
Wait, the LA River's not a sewer, though. Parts of it.
No, I don't know. It's not clean. Let's put it that way.
What I was wondering is why did Sandy take off her shoes?
Oh, I have no idea.
So she wants to just get comfy while she watches the drag race?
Exactly. Women's shoes are dumb. Yeah, someone made a fortune by going around to the Taylor Swift concerts and selling like slippers or Crocs or something outside.
Because everyone wore their stilettos? That's smart.
I know.
That was a nice piece of trivia to close. I just want to say Randall Kleiser, the director of Grease, I think he deserves a big nod. We talked endlessly about how this movie, the energy and the movement and the musicality, not only of the dialogue, but the musical numbers, like this, you could tell that this movie is meticulously directed. And I can definitely appreciate now that this was a true adaptation. We talk a lot about stage plays that never quite make a full adaptation to the screen. Like, this is fully adapted for the screen. It's very cinematic, and it's meticulously blocked and shot, like almost kind of, I would say, at a Back to the Future type level, where there's comedy in the blocking and there's precision in the blocking. I know we didn't talk about the filmmaking at all, but I definitely think that our director deserves a nod before we close out this episode.
Yeah, it definitely deserves recognition. I'm going with number 2 musical all time for me.
Second to Mary Poppins?
Mary Popkins.
Wow. So, like with Saturday Night Fever, this is another walk down memory lane. I think you gave Saturday Night Fever a totally.
Yeah, man, that's a great movie.
Okay, so...
If you're in the lane and you're primed for Grease and you're ready, this is a great, fun movie that has stuck with me for decades. I can't give it less than a totally. Talk about repeat viewing opportunities. I'll watch Grease kind of whenever or wherever. So for that reason, I will give Grease a totally, because it bears rewatching pretty much all the time.
And so that's our discussion on the classic from 1978. Wes, if people want to make a request for us to cover a film on Or Whatever Movies, what do they do?
Hit us up, 818-835-0473 or whatevermovies@gmail.com.
If our listeners want to show their support of Or Whatever Movies, the podcast, then what do they do?
Patreon or money order. We take cash, but you have to slip it under the mat or hide it in the barbecue.
Don't forget 5-star ratings and smash that subscribe button. Is that what they say on YouTube?
I don't know. You're so old. You're so old you like Grease.
I love Grease, and I guess I'm responsible for introducing it to a whole new generation.
Literally.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Why is it that games make us feel so good or completely rage quit? These emotions we feel are mostly not an accident. People like me designed them. I'm Chris Cross, and this is Brain Arcade, a podcast all about the psychology of game design and why games hit us so hard. Each week, I bring on a new guest, designers, psychologists, storytellers, to break it all down with me. If you play, design, or just love games, follow now.
Electricast.